I'm Jenny Robinson, and this is PACE TV. Every day, about 10,000 baby boomers turn 65. Right now, 75% of the nation's 43 million seniors are living in their own homes. Nearly all of them want to stay right there. Tierrasanta Village of San Diego is a grassroots membership organization with neighbors helping neighbors in a caring community setting. Their goal is to help older adults maintain safe, independent lifestyles while remaining in their homes. My first guests here to tell us about this organization are Bev and Mike Sheehan, who are actively involved with some of the Tierrasanta Village programs. Welcome to PACE, both of you.
Thank you, Jenny.
It's nice to have you here. And before we go too far into the village part of it, we have to tell some people where Tierrasanta is. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a geographic area, Mike, about where you are in San Diego.
Okay. Basically, it's the 92124 zip code.
Okay.
And geographically, it's south of 52, just east of 15, and kind of north of Friars.
So you have Miramar Air Base north of you.
Correct.
And you have lots of canyons on your outside
borders. A lot
borders.
of canyons, a lot of open area,
Right.
and we butt up to Mission Trails Park on the east side of
Right.
Tierrasanta.
So it's a beautiful place to grow up and to live for your whole time. It's not some place where you move and quickly want to move away. So a lot of people have stayed there.
Exactly. I grew up in the military and all over the country, and when I settled down, I wanted to stay in Tierrasanta, and we've got roots in Tierrasanta.
I'll be darned.
It's called an island in the hills.
That's right. That's the motto, isn't
That's
it?
the motto.
Yes.
And so you have been there for how many years?
In the village or in Tierrasanta?
In Tierrasanta.
Oh, well, we've been married almost 33 years in Tierrasanta, and Bev taught in Tierrasanta probably late 70s.
So you really
So
do have roots.
We've got roots.
And kids that grow
And
up.
gray roots and, other kind of roots too.
So tell us about the village program and basically not why, but what it's about.
Essentially, the village is what we call aging gracefully in place. And we're trying to have a group of over 150 people right now. And we all participate in helping one another. If we dropped off some food today to someone that's had an operation, we have planned a lot of events. And if someone needs somebody to talk to or needs a ride someplace or needs help, we're there to help.
Great. And so in addition to that, you have lots of programs. You have more programs than most senior groups I've seen in San Diego. So what are some of the programs that you have?
We have a wide variety of programs. We have programs that are specific to females, programs kind of specific to males. And we run the gamut from Tai Chi, balance, billiards, yoga, exercise classes. We have quite a few programs, bunko, mahjong,
Great.
you name it. Whatever the
Yes.
village lets us know that they want, we try to put it together.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So you ask people what they want, and
Yes,
they
we
have
do.
told you, and so you have them available.
Right.
So in addition to that, though, you have some long-term programs that are really specialized for people like the brain health. Recently, you had a program on brain health that was 10 weeks long or something. Is that?
Correct, yes. That was a community enhancement program that we received funding from the county. We brought in a registered nurse who did about a 10 or 12 week class on brain health, nourishment, exercise, just a wide variety of different topics that were, instructful to seniors and things that we wanted to hear about.
That's great.
Then we added some other episodes that she would produce, and we put together a recipe book. And then she did, actually, the very last one was a cooking class.
Great, which I got to attend.
Oh, that's right.
That's very
yes.
nice.
And so we're hoping that we have another CEP grant this year, and she was just so widely received, we're going to try to go with Kim Chartrand again and put together another program that the seniors want.
Great.
And that's good for your health. Big thing about you want to stay in your home, and you have to be healthy and strong to stay there. So our village is always looking at ways to enhance your strength, your vitamins, your brain power, because we all want to be as vital and stay as right on top of things as possible.
Right. So, Bev, that means that you need to stay on top of what's the latest research on elders and what kinds of things do they need, like brain stimulation and that sort of thing. So tell us about membership then. If this isn't going to be free of all of this.
No. Now, we started 7 years ago with about 27 of us that realized we loved Tierra Santa, we wanted to stay in our own homes, and after having careers, then you retire, and now do you know your neighbor? What are you going to do? So a group of us, we had two wonderful leaders, Susan Deiniger and Candy, that went back to Beacon Hill and learned about this village concept. And then we started having parties in our homes, parties at the library, parties at the storefront, inviting friends and neighbors to come hear about what are we trying to do. And we've grown over the last 7 years from that original 27. We're over 150 now. And our goal is to probably be about 200. We have a wonderful clubhouse that we have a lot of activities going in, and we have, what would I say, we've hired a new doll that will, we've been volunteering to keep the storefront, well, our clubhouse open, and now we have a wonderful young lady who is studying gerontology and happened to be one of my students when I was teaching.
Right.
So it's a very, it's,
Roots.
you
Yeah.
feel like it's a family affair.
Great. So how much does it cost to be a part of your village?
For a single, $290 for the whole year, and for a couple, $395 for a
So
household.
per month, that's cheaper than belonging to a gym.
Yes.
And it's you get all of these programs, plus you have the access to communicating with all of these people in your neighborhood without feeling isolated if you're an elder that's getting to be 85 and older. I guess you have some pretty old folks living there.
We do. We go from 50 to, is it 97? And one of our oldest members passed away, but left the village in her will,
Very nice.
saying that it had given so much these last 7 years. So that's very encouraging.
Very good.
The time bank, could I just mention
Absolutely.
something? This is so wonderful.
This is unique for your village.
Yes, yes. And the time bank, someone needs a ride to the airport. So I would say, yeah, I'm a driver. We have to be certified and whatever. And then they'd call and say, okay, my flight is at 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, then I need to get you at 6, get you down there.
So the time bank then is you bank time
Yes.
with something that you're good at,
Yes,
and you get back later something that you need,
yes,
which is great.
right.
It's a non-monetary type of barter system.
Right. So you're good at washing windows, or you're good at ironing, or whatever.
Sewing.
I want to know who those people are for the windows.
I know, really.
But
really.
sewing, people will sew things for you.
Right. Right.
Dance lessons. I mean, there's the village with 150 so people. We say, okay, what are your talents? Where is your background? You can help with banking, statistics, this and that. And everybody's got some wonderful things. We don't want anyone lonely up here. We live in a wonderful area, but if you don't know other folks to do things, you can get to be pretty lonely in your own
Right.
home.
That's right. Well, listen, I wish that we could keep talking like this, but this is only a half-hour show. So what I'd like to do is we have men in this group. They're not all women in this village, and as Mike is showing by being here today. And we have, you have to have a tech committee because a website is very, very important. So we have an interview with your tech committee coming up, but I want to thank you for coming and appreciate all the volunteering that you're doing for the village. And after we come back, we have 2 more guests that are going to tell us about more details about the village.
Well, good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Village needs a tech committee because it's really the backbone of keeping a village this size going. We have our website and database that are intermixed. We can get information from one to the other in most cases. We divide the work up between the three of us here. Don primarily is handling the website, and Marty is handling a lot of the research, and I'm handling the database primarily. We are cross-training each other, so we can help each other out, and if one person isn't available and can't do it at that time, then somebody else will be able to do it.
The things that we think that our members will find interesting on the website include our monthly newsletter, the Village Vibes. We also try to announce any of the big activities that are coming up, Tierra Santa Talks and other lectures that are special event kind of things, in addition to the regularly scheduled type functions that people do, mahjong, billiards, tai chi, and those kinds of activities. Another thing that the web allows us to do very easily is to post the board meeting minutes and also financial statements that are generated so that the members can find out where their money's going.
Just want to bring up that in addition to the website, we have a Romeo Club that I'm one of three well, not sponsors, but co-leaders on. And Romeo stands for Retired Old Men Eating Out. We meet once a month and try to go to various restaurants. Sometimes we take a field trip, and we've done that on about 3 occasions. And it's just nice. It makes it as another nicety to be here as part of this group. And that's one of the reasons my wife and I joined the group before it actually got started, as far as membership goes. And we were the 3rd and 4th member that signed up, in fact. And we started out with 27 members after the first meeting we had where we were starting membership. And that was back in September of 2008. And we are now up to approximately 150 members.
I've gotten involved because my whole working life has been in IT and related areas, and it's a good opportunity to use what I know. And for that matter, it's an opportunity to keep learning a lot too.
We're back with 2 more guests from Tierra Santa Village, Dr. Kathy Guilfoyle and Susan Deininger. And I want to welcome you both to PACE. And first we'll begin with Susan, who is one of the co-founders of this wonderful program, and it's been a program for many years. So tell us your magic and how you started this program.
Wow, magic. I remember the hard work, Jenny. Okay, I just moved to Tierra Santa, and I worked in Point Loma. Wanted to meet people because I'm a people person, got on the community council, tried to join a church, and found out I was in a bedroom community. People's lives occurred out there, and they had little groups within Tierra Santa, and that was really all they had time for. And I really could find no group to belong to. Heard about the Boston Beacon Hill in an ARP magazine in December of '05, said that sounds like us. And so found one other person who said, yes, I've retired. I've lived here 30 years. I'm in the same boat you are. Let's do it. All kinds of surveys that we did of people. Nobody was growing older, but 98% of them said they wanted to stay here. And that really, staying in your own home as long as possible, safely and comfortably, has become even more important than it ever was before. And that's my goal then. It's my goal now. Sandag said, there's a 130% increase in San Diego of folks 60 years and older every year, and the general population's growing by 38%. So even if there are facilities for all of us old folks, there won't be any young people to give us adequate service when we're in them. We really need to stay here. Would you like another reason?
So how did people get convinced to actually pay money? I mean, you had to convince them that this was going to be worthwhile without anything to show for it other than the Beacon Hill.
Candy and I began evaluating our surveys and what folks said they did need. They needed connections. So we started a phase 1 that would be social connections because we had no money. So, but once a month we would have a business meeting at the library with desserts and that kind of thing, talk to folks about what they wanted. My goodness, Bev signed on in no time, saw the purpose and the value in this. And by the time we opened with 27 full members who were paying in about 2008, word had begun to spread throughout the community. And we had some support from San Diego State University. Dr. Gerritsen came out and provided some gravitas for us. And I had been practicing with County Mental Health in a children's program for several years.
You
so
were
I
a
had
social
connections.
worker,
I'm
a
a licensed
licensed
clinical
social-
social worker, yes.
Right.
And I was with Special Education Services, but I had made connections over the county, so it gave us some ins. And I don't know, people just began to come. And I mean, Bev is our social butterfly, and she knew everybody and taught everybody's kids. And so she began to spread the word, and it was very interesting. It generally takes knowing a couple of people in the village for you to buy into it and really want to start participating. And then people would join and they'd say, okay, now I don't want to volunteer or do anything. That's great, just come. And before you know it, they're invested. And before you know it, we had 92% volunteers.
That's great.
Doing all sorts of things. And when we went to phase 2, as they got to know each other, gee whiz, do you know a good plumber? Do you know somebody who can walk my cat? Do you know somebody who can take me to the airport? I was the executive director at that point, and Candy said, let me start a time bank. So we began getting time dollars for an exchange for the trip to the airport. And for that time dollar, I'd have somebody bake cookies for me. The old-fashioned co-op, okay, was great. It is great.
And you're one of the few, you're the only one that has this
Correct.
time
They
bank.
tend to be time banks or they tend to be villages. And meshing them is really, it's kind of complicated, but it's well worth the effort, okay? And then our phase 3 was our health oversight. That's when you need to have some kind of specialties, and you have to be ready to, vet people. And you have to have a social worker or somebody who knows what they're doing in health oversight. But that really, our home health oversight is now kind of the heart of the village. And
That's for the elders, the elderly people that need help.
seriously, the actuaries, insurance actuaries say, let's see, 70% of us over 65 have a major medical event in our life. So, we had one little lady, she fell and broke her hip, and we were there. I mean, she really wasn't even that old, but we were able to walk through rehab with her, help her find a rehab that she felt comfortable in, and then get some services and all when she came home. Like Bev was talking about, taking food to one of our people, the hospitalization for gallstones turned out to be a lot more extensive than they thought. I mean, it's that way. Somebody got hit on their bicycle. I mean, it's
Right. Now, keeping the momentum, though, is a little difficult sometimes with organizations, and yet you've been growing regularly. So how do you keep the momentum?
well, as we set it up, okay, we set up not only dues, but donors, began looking for grants immediately, began thinking about sustainability, got our website immediately, got our Vibes, that's our monthly newsletter going, etc. Okay, then when I handed it over and we got a paid executive director, I had to stay out of their hair. So I began looking around, and I'm on the Mayor's Senior Affairs Advisory Board, and we visit around to the various communities around San Diego, and I find, oh my gosh, there are lots of Tierra Santas, but we now have a lovely village in Serra Mesa. There is one in Azalea Park, Fairmont Park, Ridgeview area. They have no public transportation. Those two don't even have a large grocery stores. They have 3,000 and 6,000 seniors. When we started in 2005, we had 3,500 seniors. We now have 7,500 seniors in Tierra Santa, and still no services. So, except for the village and what the village has brought in. We connect. This is the other fabulous part of it. We connect to the other resources that are available to us in San Diego.
It's just great.
Bring them in. And now Del Cerro wants one. Santee is starting one. Pacific Beach has been working at it with me for 2 or 3 years, trying to get their group. but it doesn't come on high. It has to come from the residents there.
Right, grassroots, as we
Oh.
say. Kathy, you have a lot of volunteers. Everyone's a volunteer in your organization. And so,
Right.
how can you train all your volunteers?
Well, we're all volunteer now, and about half on the average volunteer because we track them. So we have trainings. We have some professionals come in that work with us and train, and we have trainers of trainers. So we work together. Our volunteers do everything from help with committees, social events, have cleanup, setup, and they provide companionship to our members. And it's interesting, as we're tracking our volunteers, they become friends. So villagers become friends and they'll go out to dinner, they'll go on trips together, and we don't even know about it. So
That's very good.
it's really neat.
And you have also a care committee.
Right.
Tell me about the care committee.
Yeah, we have 7 core teams, and one of them is care. And the care is really the central part of the village because we have a side-by-side telephone tree, so members can get called daily, weekly, monthly, and we can check on them. And when an event happens, we'll go to their assistance. I have a personal example from last summer when my husband had heart trouble, and the care committee just stepped in, and I had someone in the emergency room with me, and I would get 5 phone calls a day. They would make me breakfast on that first day I was alone, and it was just really awesome.
That is.
They coach you, counsel you, help you ask the doctor what questions to ask. So it's really that transition from hospital to home that's really important.
Absolutely. Now, all of this is difficult to measure because a lot of it is just the good feeling that you have and the security that you're feeling and so forth. But how can you express to people the cost benefit of their membership fee, which is $200 and whatever dollars a year, and how can you prove that it's a cost benefit to
Well,
to them?
UC Berkeley, which has been tracking our village, we were part of a 9-member village study in California. They did some calculations. They just found a taxi ride is $60. YMCA is maybe $400 a year for a senior. So they looked at the average village membership is over $500. We get about $1,747 worth of services, when you add up all the daily exercise, everything. So the return on investment is over 300%.
Wow, that's very good. That's very good. So you're sold on the whole project, obviously. How many years have you been living in Tierra Santa?
Over 20 years.
Wow.
I joined the village when I retired and wrote a grant and got funding for 3 years, which provided a staff. And
That
so
was a huge help.
my husband and I don't have children. Our family is in Los Angeles, so it's been really important to us.
Absolutely. Back to you, Susan. If someone wanted to duplicate your organization's idea, what are they, first of all, let's put the website up. What is the website for Tierra Santa?
TierraSantaVillage.org.
Okay, and
And we belong to a village-to-village, a national organization. And there are about 140 villages throughout the United States being created, and more being created all the time. Here in San Diego, folks have called Tierra Santa Village, and they generally refer them to me, and I go and I begin talking. Kathy and I have done several of these. We started a back office group called Village Core that provides back office services, which is very, very valid, but you need to have your village kind of first. So at this point, I'm just really trying to help get the villages going. I can help them organize, figure out what committees they need, how they want to do their leadership. There's several different kinds of villages. Ours is grassroots. You can have a community center, and because it doesn't reach the neighborhood, you can have a village come out of that community center just to really reach your neighborhood. And this is the thing too, the White House Conference on Aging is putting their money into intergenerational and technological services for the next few years. Visiting all of these different community centers around San Diego, I've realized intergenerational is fabulous, but we get lost. Take Tierra Santa. We have 2 offerings in our wide complex of park and rec services, exercise groups, which seniors are invited to. I go and I ache, I have rheumatism. It's a lovely group. I'm glad to be out there. But they aren't really interested or can't be. And that leader doesn't know to talk to me about anything. And she's not concerned that my husband has recently been diagnosed with MS and I don't know where to turn to next. And there is nothing in this community for me to turn to except the village. And the village will find resources for me. And this is true in every community. There was one community that had a good senior center, so they built a medical facility, a social facility. They broke up all the senior programs, put them in various ones. Pretty soon the senior program died. Our civic leaders, and this is new territory because there's so many of us now, okay? But we are
Who
the
vote?
largest.
We vote.
The largest voting bloc, that's right. So we are trying to coalesce into a coalition, actually, so that they know that that building in my community that isn't being used, you really do need to give it to us seniors, and we'll make it a going thing and provide those services. Serra Mesa has a library that is sitting there with nothing going on. We have an old library that sits on city property that they're resistant to letting us take over and and run for them, et cetera. And most of these places, their recreation departments do not have anything going for seniors. And in the morning hours, they just sit silent. And the seniors don't have money to pay the staffing for these facilities for them. And that's even if they give us a 501c3 rake off on the hourly rate of the thing, we still have to pay their staffing.
Right. So your hope is that this can be solved.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, and I'm sure in the years to come, we're going to see a lot of changes. Unfortunately, we can't continue to talk today, ladies, because we have run out of time. And you have been such a pleasure to tell us all about Tierrasanta Village, and I do hope that our listeners will look into it and figure out what they can do for their village. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.